So my name is Aseem Jain, and in the Mongo tutorial series today we'll learn about Mongo aggregation. Aggregation operation process data records and return computed results. Aggregation information groups value from multiple documents together and can perform a variety of operation on the group data to return a single result. In SQL, count star and with group by is equivalent to MongoDB aggregation. So just to in simple words, for example, you have lot of students and you just want to aggregate and find in all of the students how many students have scored first division or second division, how many percentages of total students have failed or have excelled. So this kind of data gives you the idea of how brilliant a class or a batch is. So to consolidate that data simply and grouping them helps. For example, you need to figure out how many male students are there in a particular class versus a female student, and that statistical data can be used for comparison, for drawing out some of the conclusions that the participation of women students are increasing or something like that. So there are a lot of application, especially in meteorology also they take data and then they aggregate it and then they predict when it's going to rain or when it's not going to rain based on some of the factors in the weather and climate. They aggregate and then they draw the conclusion and the result. So these are on high level application. Today in this session we are going to learn the basic aggregation. So you can also follow this same link. I have also shared it in the YouTube video, and then you can insert this data and try out some of the operation. So basic syntax is you have database dot collection name, and that you can do aggregate. Once you do aggregate, it takes parameter which is called as the aggregation information, aggregate operation basically. So in the collection you have following data. So this is just imagine we have a collection. So let's real quick open the Mongo shell and then we will try to insert some data real quick. So I'll say I have some data in this, so I'll just drop it just to be safe, clean, consistent. Now I'll say I have this collection and I am going to insert our first record. So we'll redo it again. The best way is to create a variable object, put your data inside here. I think there is some error in copying it, so we'll redo it. So we can always pass underscore id, and let's try to do it in JSON editor first. So we might need the correction of data. We'll do it real quick. So we have these three datas. Sometimes the ticks and backticks, they also create trouble. So we might have to sanitize the data before we actually take the data. So we will just put the codes here so it can become a valid JSON object, and that can help us moving ahead. We might not need the URL at all, so we can remove this. We can just replicate probably this. Let me correct it and then we'll replicate it. So before working on these concepts, most important is to create the seed database. If you have proper database which is good variety, then it helps you to do your queries properly. Otherwise, you might get into trouble. So these are our keys, and that is fine. So now we will try to first insert this. So now this is cool. Now we will say db dot aggr collection dot insert, and then we can say obj. So your first data has been inserted. If you try to insert your second data, we'll try to override this, and now we'll do the same command. Now we'll try to do this third data. And then we'll do so same command because we have overridden the object. Now we will do the count that 3 different records are there or not. Let's do aggregate collection dot count, and we have 3 different data. So we are cool. We have set it up the data which was the first step. Second step, now from the above collection, if you want to display a list stating how many tutorials are written by each user, then you can use the following aggregation method. So in the aggregation method, first thing is the group. So what you do is you are passing an array. Inside the array, this is the array of objects. So your key would be the group, and then by what you want to call it. So let's say by user. So you are saying dollar by user, and this would be your identifier, which means the key, whatever you want to aggregate, that would be your underscore id. That would be first parameter. Second is so let's say number of tutorials. So number of tutorial, this thing is you can give it anything. It does not have to follow your schema structure or match with anything. You are just trying to do a sum of so here you are using Mongo's inbuilt function which is called as sum. So sum, and then you're telling it as true. One means true. That means just do a sum. So what you are doing that in this query, in the result set, there could be different user. For each user, how many records he has, how many tutorials he has published. It will give you those results. So once you run this, the result set would give you another kind of array which will have the id of whatever is the value for that user. That would be the name basically, and then you can have the number of total. So we'll just skew it a little bit. So let's say you was here and we have user. We can just name it as Rain Aseem. Do a enter. Fine. Now we'll start doing the query. So query would be your collection, and then you will say aggregate. I just did a tab. This helps you to see that your brackets are complete, otherwise you might be in trouble. After that, you have to give the syntax, which is like the array. Inside the array, you have to start giving the values. So your first value would be your first object, and the object will again have dollar group. So we will give dollar group. In MySQL, it is similar to the group by. So inside the dollar group key, you have to give the value. So value would look like something like this. So value has arguments. Value takes arguments basically. So your first argument would be your underscore id, which means on what you want to group by. If you have one value, you can say one, or you can always assign multiple values to that, which means if you want to group where the state is this, for example, I'm just talking about school, where the state is so and so, and district is so and so, add all the numbers, something like that. Now whatever the value which you want to be printed or grouped stuff, that remember you have to put the dollar sign and then your field by user. So now you have user. This finishes your first argument. Second is you can say it as total or sum or total tutorials or whatever you would ask, that would go fine. Now you have to give another the value for the total as another object. So this would be the one, this would be the one, this will be one, this. So far all our brackets are balanced, so please make sure brackets are balanced, otherwise it would fail. So once you go to total, after going to total, you have to use dollar sum. This would be the column value or header. Inside it you are going to use dollar sum. Now once you use dollar sum, you can say one, just because it's a JSON object, key should have a value. That is how this works basically. So once you do this, your query was absolutely fine. Initially you might face problem with the brackets, but then it would be fine. So Mr. This guy has has returned total 1 record, and tutorial point has returned total of 2 records. That is by user, how many records have got inserted. So if we add more record for tutorial point or Neo4j, you will see the reflection happening. So let's try go ahead and add it real quick. So we are going to add this guy again. We'll do var obj is equal to this guy, and then we will again insert this guy, and now we will do the aggregate query, this guy. So you see the number are reflecting. So if you will add another user, one more line will show up. It would say which user and how many total blocks or whatever data he has returned. So we'll just try to simulate this. We will say Prem Aseem over here, and now we will try to do it again. So we have inserted and we have got the aggregate query. So now you see the total is 1. So for each person, whatever would be the aggregated result, which would be grouped by whatever you would say, that sum total would come. So this was just the one part of the query basically. Now we will see max, min, push, add to, set all in next lecture. This lecture was just to make you familiarize that how Mongo aggregation works and how group by basically works. So just to conclude, whatever field you want to group by, you can write the field key over here, and then you can just write whatever you want to do. If you want to write a sum over here, instead of sum you can write a average over here, how many average likes that person has got. So you can see that minimum likes, maximum likes. So there are other options which you can try, find and explore. So I hope you enjoyed watching this and learned. If you have any question, please get back to me. Thank you.